All right, here we go. Welcome to Separation Nation, where we dissect, where we uncover, where we hone in on the separators, what makes certain people different from other people. A separator can be a habit, it can be a ritual, it can be a routine, it can be a mindset, a belief system, an obsession, a discipline, whatever it is, we want to look at that, we want to find it. We've said before, success leaves clues, so we're searching for those clues and trying to elaborate, pontificate, talk about those clues.
I like the word pontificate. It's a good word.
I hope I used it right. But anyway, so one thing that I've noticed, and this goes back to my early years, I think I learned this in high school, actually with the very first job I ever had. One thing I've noticed about successful people is the speed and the pace at which they operate. And what I mean by that, they always seem not necessarily busy, but they always seem to be in a hurry to get to the next step, the next level, the next task. They waste no time. And I've thought about this for years and years and years, and I'll kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about. The first job I ever had, actual real job other than baling hay or working in tobacco or blueberries or whatever, but the actual first real job I had was working at a builder supply store, Farmer Supply in Alma, Georgia. I worked for a guy named Dwight Sellers. Dwight was probably at the time in his early 50s. But one thing I noticed about him from the first day that I worked for him until the last day, which I think it evolved around two or 3 years, is the pace at which he operated. I was 17, I believe, when I started my job, and it was everything I could do to keep up with this 50-year-old man. He would walk. We actually nicknamed him the Plow because he walked so fast from point A to point B getting things done. And when I would come into work, he would have already been there 2 or 3 hours at the time. He's always the first one there, last one to leave. And he would have purchase orders lined up for me. And my job was to load flatbed trucks with lumber, sheetrock, roofing materials, whatever it might be. And from the time I clocked in until the time I clocked out, the pace at which I operated was the same pace he operated. Because when you operate at a massive pace like that, the people around you have to match that pace, and you have no choice. And so I would match that pace, and it was all I could do to keep up with this 50-year-old man at age 17. That was the first example of this that I saw, but surely not the last. Over and over and over and over in my career and in my life and meeting successful people, I've noticed that the pace at which they operate is just exponential. They always seem to be in a hurry to get to the next level. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're always busy. And what I mean by that is they've always got a focus, always got a strategy, always seem to know. They may not know where, they're always from A to B, B to C, C to D. They may not have the next step figured out, but they're always in line headed to where they are. And production seems to be, what they can do seems to be more important than just staying busy. They always seem to have a clear focus on what they're doing.
Well, so it makes me think of that Mario Andretti quote. I mean, if you have everything under control, you're not going fast enough. So one thing I've noticed with high achievers, super achievers, is that they're not so worried about everything being prim, proper, clean. In other words, I mean, there's a phrase that I use a lot called casualty of war. You know, I mean, things are going to happen. I mean, some things are going to go off, you know, some things are going to get caught in the fray. But if you sit there and you focus and you worry about all these little imminent details of making sure that, you know, nothing gets wrong, nothing blows off here or there, goes awry or goes, if you're so worried about everything being prim and proper, that becomes a distractor. I mean, you're not going to get anything done. The thing is, like we talked about before, a leader, a high achiever, a top performer, he's going to make a decision on something. He's going to execute. He's going to promise the world, figure out how to deliver it tomorrow. But the main thing is he's going to get his butt off the couch. He's going to take massive action. He's going to get out there and he'll figure out the rest along the way. But you're not going to control every little old aspect of your life. You know, you're not going, I mean, there's going to be casualty of war in business. I mean, how many times do we You know, the majority of people that come, their lives are changed in our companies that we operate. Things go great. There may be some hiccups along the way, some things that we need to reel in, or some things that we need to mentor somebody on. But there's going to be some people that just, you know, they can't keep up with the pace. They don't like it. And, you know, it's like having a truck loaded down with a bunch of, you can load a truck down, go to the hardware store with a bunch of provision. You know, I would rather overload the truck and let's take as much provision and get as much things as we can get to the job site to get the job done, and just buy extra. And if something falls off, something falls off. You know, I joke a lot of times I got a fear of lack, you know. And normally I'm saying that when I go to eat sushi, because my wife's like, why in the hell do you order this big old boat of sushi? Because you don't never eat it all. And I just say, well, because, well, A, I can afford it. And B, I'd rather have more than not enough, and I don't want to have to order another roll. So I would just have more than not enough. But that's the mindset of a top performer is, we're going to load the wagon. We're going to get shit done. We're going to get out here and be aggressive and move toward what the decision we've made, what we know we need to do. If some stuff flies off the truck, if there's some sushi rolls left on the boat, if there's some people that can't keep up with the pace on your team, they just going, you know, they may get caught in the crosswind, and they may end up off doing somewhere different. Might even end up pissed off with you. I mean, and I'm using that as an example, but that don't mean I'm going to change my pace. It don't mean I'm going to change my direction.
Well, the pace, that's the thing. You either match the pace or you fall away, and that's everything in life. And that's the key. I mean, especially as a leader, it's our responsibility to set the pace for our business, to set the pace for the company. And we can't slow down because other people want to go slow. You know, it's like Ricky Bobby said, I want to go fast. That's all I ever want to do is go fast. It ain't necessarily that you want to go fast, it's you have to go fast. I've said it before that your chase will determine your pace. And what I mean by that is whatever you're chasing is going to determine that pace, and kind of gets back to things we've talked about in previous podcasts. If you've got clear goals and clear vision, written goals, you know where you're going, you know what the destination is, and that's the big thing on the destination. The where is always more important than the how. If you know your where, if you know where you're going, you know the destination, you know what you're chasing, that's going to determine the pace or the speed at which you go. And if you know your where, you'll figure out your how. You figure out how to do it as you go. But the main thing is knowing where you're going. You know, you and I've said it many times. We've shot from the hip our whole career. But if you shoot from the hip long enough, you'll become a damn good shot.
Well, and, you know, just going back to this, I mean, and I think it's important for people to understand. People look at quote-unquote successful people, or people that may be doing have more than that individual currently has in their own life. And so you're watching a person that looks like they got it all together. And what you got to see, a lot of times you see in finished products, but you don't see the journey, and you don't see the mess. I mean, there might have been some messes along the way. And matter of fact, I guarantee you there was some messes. And I mean, at the end of the day, the journey to success, you go through some, I mean, there's lots of valleys in that deal. You go through some messy times. You're going to piss a lot of people off, is the fact of the matter. And you can't be worried about people's opinions, what they think, you know, whether they're judging you or not. You just have to get up every day, and you have to move forward and understand that, I mean, it's a law of physics. Movement creates friction.
Right.
Movement will always create friction. And a lot of times that friction's in your relationships. And it's not more than the people that work for you or with you. A lot of times it's with your own family. You know, it's the crabs in the bucket deal. When you begin to move forward, what that does, when you take action, it illuminates the people that are not taking action. You and I were talking the other day about an individual that we personally have had some interactions with over the years. And it's, you know, you ever heard of an asshole? You know what an asshole is,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It's the people that's always asking, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? We want your help. We want this and that. But they rarely, and most of the time never, they never take action. They never implement what you're telling them to do. They say all the right things when they're meeting with you, but then when they leave the office and they get out from under that ether, you know, there's never any action taken. And what we found is, you know, like in that particular instance, you know, people will get cool. You do more, they kind of hot to trot. But then all of a sudden, if you kick up to the next level in life and you start doing something new, or you begin to achieve more, you attain a higher level of achievement, then we've even seen that where, you know, a lot of times those relationships, people will shy away and back away from you, widening the divide, you know, and that's why mediocrity will never congratulate success. It'll never congratulate excellence, because the minute you begin to be, do, and have more, it illuminates the people that are unwilling. It don't mean that they're less or you're better per se in their humanity, but they may be less in their ability. They may be too lazy. They may not want to take action. And that illumination basically just highlights their lack of an aptitude and the fact that they're not going to take action. And so a lot of times in your relationships, that friction, movement creates friction. When you begin to move forward and take action, you got to understand there's going to be a lot of people that don't cheer you on, don't yeehaw, not going to clap, you know. They're going to sit there with their arms crossed because you were willing to take the next step, to take action, to be uncomfortable, to put yourself at risk. And you got to understand the majority of the world's not going to do that. Massive separation comes there.
Well, they're not going to match the pace. And bottom line is, if things aren't falling off or people aren't falling off from time to time, your pace isn't fast enough. And a lot of people do. They slow down to keep from outrunning people around them, you know.
Well, and if you're not losing friends,
right,
you're not doing enough in life. I can look back from 2011 when I really got to 2010, getting in the financial services business. 2011, kind of start putting some stuff together. Lifestyle begins to change, kind of digging, coming out of a hole. And I can look back, and along my journey, you know, because from the time I hit the restart button on life and had got into a whole new career, moved to a whole new city, developed all new friends, what I've come to understand is I have every year I can look back. There's been somebody that came into my circle, inner circle, or at least my outer circle of friendship, that's no longer there. And here's what happens. It's not, we could still be friends today if I had not grown. If I was not just on this avid, ridiculous mental pursuit, I get up every day with how can I continue to become the next best version of myself. It don't mean that what I am today is wrong. It don't mean that I was wrong 3 years ago or that I was less than because I ran with these people or had these friends. It's just simply I grew and they didn't. And I'm intuitive enough and got enough sense to know that I'm not going to sacrifice my destiny and my future and where I'm headed to stay on a plane and plateau of where, and I'm not even saying them people or them individuals are mediocre, but there's always greater depths and higher heights. And Justin's going to be changing every year. I go back and listen to stuff. I've had, you know, somewhat of a public outreach, even in my former vocational careers. And I go back and listen to recordings and things I used to say. I don't believe 90% of that shit anymore. But I've grown, and anything that's alive is growing, anything that's growing is changing, and anything that's changing is going to challenge you. And you know, I'm continually on the pursuit of the best version of myself, and you got to understand, you got to be willing to lose friends on that journey because you're going to lose them. But a lot of people allow the fact of not wanting to mess up relationships, not wanting to hurt people. They allow that to be their ceiling, and they just cower back down for the sake of those relationships. Why would you sacrifice your birthright, who you're supposed to be, quote unquote, for a bowl of beans to stay where you're at?
And the thing about it is, like what you just said, you can listen back 10 years ago, things you said, and I'm in the same boat with you, and I don't necessarily line up with that anymore. Don't necessarily agree. That doesn't mean you were wrong at the time. Don't mean I was wrong at the time. It just means you were a different person, and the truth that you had at that point was the truth that person needed, but the person you become now, it just has a whole new revelation of where they be. And here's the thing, you know, Jim Rohn said this. He said, you are the sum total of your 5 closest friends. First off, if you've got 5 close friends, you're doing way better than I do. I got 2, 3, you know. And so, but people take a hold of that, and they think, well, man, I got to go out and break up with my friends, and then I got to go find me 5 more friends. But it doesn't work like that. I mean, as you evolve, the friendships evolve. As you evolve and as you change, the circle changes. You don't have to look at who's in your life and say, I got to stay away from them. Now, sometimes you do. If there's people that's bringing you down or people with bad habits or people that you know when you're around, you're different, Yes, at that time there are relationships that you just have to cut off. But in general, as you begin to grow and kind of going back to pace, as you begin to accelerate and continue to increase your pace, the ones that aren't willing to match that pace, whether they work with you, whether they're in a relationship with you, whether they're friends or family, they'll fall off. You'll look around and you'll be like, wow, I hadn't talked to them in over a year.
Deteriorate on its own.
Yeah, and so that all take care of itself. And the people that need to be in your circle, I'm not saying you don't have to seek them out. I'm not saying that it's not time. There's people I follow that don't even know me. I've got mentors in my life. They have no idea they're mentoring me. But every day I'm feeding from the trough. Every day I'm listening. I'm watching different things like that. But when it's time and when you're ready, those friends, that circle will build itself. You're the only thing we have to worry about. The only thing that the person listening to has to worry about. You just make sure your pace continues to accelerate and your pace matches your chase. In other words, what you're chasing, continue to keep your eye on that, focused on that. And that kind of gets to my next point on focus. And I know you're good at this because I've just watched you. But one thing successful people do when it comes to pace is they seem to be able to get so much more done in a day than the average normal person. And one thing I believe that allows this is focus time. You know, how many times have you sat down in 2 hours and focused your time, focused your ability, focused all of your attention on a task at hand, turn around and looked at the clock and realized, hey, where'd the last 2 hours go? I don't know, but I got so much more done. It's almost like sometimes you can take 2 hours of your day and really get focused, really get going, really build momentum, get going, turn around at the end of that 2 hours and realize, hey, I just did more in this 2 hour block of time than I did all last week. Average people have moments like that. I think super successful people live that way. I believe they've learned how to channel and focus their energy, block off sections of time, learn how to block everything else in their life and focus on a task at hand. I think, and just from the times that I've been able to do that consistently, is not when I had 10 things I was trying to get done, but when I had one thing that I had to get done. And I believe that successful people live their life that way. They're not trying to get 10 things done at a time. They got one thing they're focusing on. They get from that. And I had one guy tell me one time, I was buying a piece of land. And I went and saw the guy. And we talked about the deal, put the deal together. He told me what he was willing to do. I told him what I was willing to do. And then he looked at me. He said, okay, my attorney's going to call you today before it's over, and we're going to close in 10 days. And it blew my mind, the pace of that. Cause at the end, really, I wasn't ready to close. I wasn't prepared at the time. And I just told him, I said, can I get a little more time? He said, well, I'll give you all the time you want to. I just like to get it done because there's another deal waiting on me and then another deal waiting on me. And I want to close. And one thing that taught me is that one closed deal is better than 15 open deals. A lot of people like to brag about how busy they are. Everything they've got going on, all the balls are juggling, all the plates are spinning. But at the end of the day, what are they actually doing? What are they actually closing? I don't want 15 deals on my desk that I'm working. I want one that I'm closing, moving on to the next one, closing, and focus on each individual task. I believe that's what helps with the pace.
Well, you can't have pace if you procrastinate. Procrastination is what'll kill your pace. And so you can't put off, and let me tell you this, while I believe in multitasking, in other words, multitasking to me is I'm focusing on a project here now, but I have a plan in place, and I know once this is done, I'm going to move to the next project.
Right.
Or I have delegated, okay? And to be successful in delegation, you got to inspect what you expect. And so before I go and start the project that's going to take my direct attention, I'm going to line up that staff member or that employee or that team member. I'm going to give them the task at hand. I'm going to lay the project out if I even need to lay it out, if it's not a preset deal that they know. And then I'm going to go put 100% of my focus there, knowing that diligence over time is excellence and that there's going to be an excellent job done. But I'm still going to go back at the end of the day or at the end of that project that I'm completing, and I'm going to go back and inspect and make sure that everything was done. Multitasking is not the 15 deals on the table trying to close them all at once. That's chaos.
Right. I agree.
And what you're doing is you're slowing down, let's say in the financial world, you're slowing down your revenue because you're trying to get all this done. You're killing your cash flow is actually what you're doing. Because if I'm trying to work and close 15 deals at one time, ain't none of them getting closed.
No.
And when they do all get closed, they're going to get closed about the same time. And I've just killed the productivity along the way, and killed not just the productivity, but the provision. You got to have provision along the way to continue to be productive. One, you need it mentally because you need to see the fruits of your labor and know that things is getting done. So it creates mental stability, mental drive to keep the pace up. You'll get far more done when you're focused on the project at hand.
Most people, the most productive day all year that they have is the day before they go on vacation because they have no choice. They have to get stuff done because they can't roll it over. And like what you were saying, if someone calls and I've got 10 calls to return, I'm not going to return half of them and then roll them over because that's what kills you is rollover. Everything that you roll over to another day is things that you didn't get done the day before, and that's what kills our productivity because if we've got 10 things we've got to do on a Monday and we get 5 of them done and we just roll the other 5 on over to Tuesday, we're still on Monday even on Tuesday. We spend the entire week behind. I've often said, and we've told on conference calls and different ones with the producers that work with us, I've always said Monday's the most important work day of the entire week because that's the day we determine if we're going to run our week or if our week's going to run us. If we're going to set the pace for the week ahead or if the week's going to just destroy us. And that's why you see, if you go on social media, any Monday you can scroll and about every 5th post to be about how much Monday sucks. Yeah. The reason it sucks so bad is because you suck. And I don't mean that you suck as a person. I just mean your actions suck, your mentality sucks, the way you approach it sucks. I was going home Monday evening. I have a short window from this office to my house is 15 minutes. And that's 15 minutes where I turn everything off. I usually listen to music. That's 15 minutes of listening to music, whatever I want to listen to, and just think about my day, what I got accomplished. Did I win or did today win? And I had this thought. I said, Monday 0, Tanner 1. What do I mean by that? I mean, today I won. I got up before Monday did. I beat the sun up. Everything on my list that I needed to get done, I got done. You and I had a meeting. Brandy and Dale, and more things come up, got most of those done. And I remember the feeling of success going home thinking, I won today. Monday didn't. I set my pace today for the rest of the week. I had accomplishment today. I had victory today. And I created momentum today that's going to carry me on into the week. And I'm still riding that momentum. Here we are Wednesday, still riding that momentum, still in a place of victory, not in a place of defeat. And I'm not going to have that mentality because my Monday does not start after I hit the snooze button 5 times, look at my phone for 2 hours, finally decide to come to work and get things. And my Monday starts sometime Sunday. At some point Sunday, I'm going to get along by myself if it's only 15, 20 minutes, and I'm going to start mapping out and preparing for that next day. You don't run a race that you don't prepare for. You don't fight a battle that you don't prepare for. Football teams don't play games that they don't prepare for. The separation is in the preparation. And so I'm prepared for Monday. I'm ready for Monday. I set my pace on Monday. I build momentum on Monday that's going to carry me on into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Well, wars are won in the planning room. That's where you win the wars, in the planning room, with the generals sitting around planning, preparing. That's a huge part of it. And Monday is the meter for momentum. Monday, meter, momentum. That's what you got. And then you could take momentum and interchange the word money in there. Monday, meter, money. Because at the end of the week, all your activity don't matter if you can't monetize it. Some of you will not agree with me that listen to this podcast. I don't really give a damn. Second to oxygen, money's the most important thing. If what you're doing is not cashing out and it's not monetizing, because it takes money to live in this world, it takes money to be, do, and have more. And I can look, case study in our own company. People that put ink on paper, as we like to call it, in other words, they close a deal on Monday, are going to close more deals that week than if they didn't close on Monday. Now, they might not have closed on Monday because they partied too hard on the weekend and had a hangover and didn't manage their time right. They may have started too late on Monday and slept in. They may have came home early on Monday. But in other words, 100%, when you give Monday your all, when you give it 100%, no holding back, it's going to always make the remainder of that week more profitable. It's kind of like a law. There was a biblical law, or not necessarily a law, but principle of first fruits. And what that principle said is if you take the first, and give it to God, quote unquote, and again, I'm just using this as an example, then the rest is going to be blessed or more blessed, okay? So Monday is your first fruits of your efforts of your week. Never miss a Monday. We see memes about that all the time, people being in the gym. Here's what I can tell you about me. The weeks I miss Monday for whatever reason, I'm going to always miss another day.
Absolutely.
For some friggin' reason. I don't know why. But I'm going to miss another day in the gym that I would normally have been in there later on in that week. I don't care what you say. It's a law of the universe. If you're not operating in full tilt on Monday, something's going to go lacking the rest of the week.
Well, you're telling the universe that this is important to me, and it's important enough. My Monday is important because, like I said, it sets the pace. And I may miss Tuesday working out. I may miss Wednesday, not very often that I miss 2 days in a row. But I won't miss Monday. I will not miss it if I've had to be in the gym at 11 o'clock because I'm telling the universe that this is important enough for me that no matter what I got to do, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to plan that because if a workout ain't planned, it normally don't happen. And so you're going to find me in the gym. There's 3 days of my week you're going to find me no matter what. I'm going to be there Monday, I'm going to be there Saturday, and I'm going to be there Sunday. The reason being is because I got no excuse on Saturday and Sunday. Those are off days for most people, but those are on days for me. And I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be on my game, and I'm going to make sure I get that done. And if I get Monday, and I get Saturday, and I get Sunday, guess what? I can find 2 more days in there somewhere to work out and make my 5 days a week. I'm not trying to be a magazine model, but I don't want to be fat. I want to be in shape. I want to have energy, and I want to feel good. That's my entire deal. Fitness serves me. I don't serve fitness. It ain't my entire life, but it is part of what makes my life better. And kind of getting back to what you were saying about money, money is next to oxygen. It is important because there's nothing in our life that we do. And a lot of people tell you that money's not important. Those people still spend 40 hours of their week at least trying to get money. They may despise it. And, it's just like what the Bible says. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. It didn't say money was evil. It said the love of money. What does that mean? That means our attitude toward money is the only thing that can be good or bad. Our attitude, not money itself. You can't do anything good in life. You can't build hospitals without money. You can't give to charity without money. You can't feed the hungry, clothe the ones that are doing without. None of these things can do without money. So for anybody to say money is not important is insane. Money is very important. Everything that we do, this podcast takes money. Success takes money. Everything takes money. So yes, Monday is the meter for our week, but it is for our money as well. Like you said, the ones who can close business, close deals on Monday, because this is what we do. We live for the weekend as a society. Living for the weekend. You hear that all the time. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. There was a motivational speaker come out several years ago with an entire movement that said, thank God it's Monday. And because that's what's important. Yes, Friday's great. Wonderful. It's good to have the weekends to recover and to recuperate and to spend time with our family and our loved ones and do the things that we want to do. But we can't live for the weekend. We have to live in the moment. And Monday is the moment, and Monday is the day that gets everything going, that sets that momentum and determines that pace. Because here's the thing, and kind of getting back to the people around us. The people around us are either going to line up and match our pace or they're going to fall away. And what I mean by that is, as leaders, it's our responsibility to determine the pace that our team and our company and the people around us are going to move and operate at. And when you were talking about multitasking, I agree with you 100%. I believe in multitasking from the aspect that there's a lot of things going on all the time in what we do. But I'm going to be focused. My actions and what I'm doing are focused. One thing that leaders are very good at is delegating. And I've said this before. A true leader learns, one thing about delegation that they learn is to only do what only you can do. If somebody else in your organization can do it, then you don't need to be doing it. There's certain things that only you can do in this organization, certain things only I can do in this organization, and those are things that we have to concentrate our time on. Those are things that we have to focus our pace on. If we don't, we become frustrated, and we become the enemy of productive is busy. We don't want to be busy. We want to be productive. We want to know how to focus the things on us. And by doing that, I think it was Andy Stanley wrote a book years ago I read called Next Generation Leader. And in that book, he said that your team may not be able to do something as good as you, but if you can get them to the point that they can do it 80% as good as you, then you walk away and give it to them. Yep. All these little things we want the people around us to be able to do as good as me. Like, I've been doing it for 10 years. They've been able to do it for 2. They've been doing it for 2 years. I'm not waiting until they get as good as me at it. I'm trying to get them as good as they can get at it. When they get 80% there, maybe even 70% there on some things, then I'm going to let them do it. And I'm not going to micromanage it to the point to where I have to stand over them because I'm still not being productive at that. I've spent my entire career, like we said earlier, shooting from the hip. And I'm going to allow people around me to do that. I'm going to give them a task, and I'm going to say, look, this is what I want you to get done. I'm not even going to tell you how to do it. Figure it out. If you do it wrong, then we'll correct it. Don't hit send now till I read it. I will say that a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Put this together. Don't send until I read it, or don't submit this until I've approved it. But get started. Get started. I'll come back and look and see where you are, because I want people to learn and to operate the same way I've operated.
And on delegating and productivity, what you just talked about applies that to your workplace as a leader. But tell you something else that sometimes rubs people the wrong way. But I mean, there's so you got to understand what your strengths are and what you're good at and what deserves your time. You know, my dad's in business with us. You know, it's your father-in-law, and you know, I was telling him the other day. You know, he was Georgia-Florida game was, you know, go Dogs. We beat them Gators. Was this past weekend. But
beat them good too.
Beat them good. You know.
But thank God they didn't have any more timeouts.
Well, that's correct. So, you know, I have a little cookout at the house, and I invited Mom and Dad over, and, you know, he just called me and said, man, son, please don't be upset with me, but, you know, I got this and this and this around the house I need to get done. And so we were talking Sunday, and he told me how hard he worked, and, you know, the hedges needed trimming and all that. And my dad's an outdoor guy. He enjoys that. That's always kind of been therapy for him. But now he's got he's got a few roles in life and multiple things he's doing. He's building a team here with us and got a lot going on. We're in the middle of annual enrollment period. It's harvest season for that side of the business, and so he's blowing and going 100 miles an hour. And I just told him, I said, you know, Sunday, I said, you know, Daddy, it might be time to start looking at paying somebody to, you know, to trim them hedges and cut that grass. Now, whether he does or not, I don't know. But I'm telling you, here's so many people. I'm not going to spend my time and all my 10 years in the field too. If something broke or tore up around the house, now, so I'll change a light bulb, but beyond that, I mean, I'm not going to give it my energy or my attention. I'm going to pay professionals to do what professionals do. Because if I sit and take a morning or an afternoon, or it's Saturday even, you know, you say, well, Justin, you might not be in the field selling on Saturday. Why would you do that? Well, Saturday's my time to plan, vision, cash, prepare, sit out, and get my stuff straight so that I can perform at optimum levels when I get back in the field. And I'm not going to take my energy and my efforts and put it on menial tasks. I'm going to pay a professional, because people say, well, you could do that yourself and save money. No, you're actually not saving money.
Well, you're wasting time.
You're wasting time.
Waste time, you're not saving money.
And if I'm sitting there and I'm able to focus, and if I can operate 100% to my potential when I'm out in the field and I'm selling and I'm doing what I need to do, the amount of money I'm able to make there is greatly surpassing any money that I would save. So could I save $30 by not paying a repairman to come put that handle back on the dishwasher that got yanked off? Which, true story, the handle on our dishwasher fell off about a year and a half ago. Okay. I didn't even, my wife said, "You going to pick that up?" And I said, "No, the repairman's going to pick it up when he comes tomorrow." And I called the repairman. That was a minor thing that I could have fixed. But I'm not even, that's how diligent and, I'm just a maniac about that. I'm not going to spend my time. Don't mean I'm lazy. Don't mean I don't want it fixed, because I like things perfect, okay? As perfect as they can be. And I want things nice and done right and done effectively. But I'm not going to take my energies, my efforts, and my time and put it on things that I don't specialize in. Let a specialist be a specialist, even around your own home. I'm not going to do my own yards. I'm not going to fix my own stuff that tears up, even if I can. I'm going to pay a professional, because even if I try to do it and can do it, then I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to get ill and aggravated and cuss and hit something, because I don't know. It was something, when it's an issue that somebody could come in and probably get done in just a few minutes, and I'm able to focus and keep the main thing and do what I do that's effective, that brings increase to my life. And the world just works better that way. I don't care what you say. You always pay professionals to do what professionals do, and you remain a professional at what you're a professional at doing.
Well, and that's the thing. Even more important than money is time, because you can always make more money. You can't make more time. We all, whether all men or women are created equal, I don't necessarily agree with that. Some are created better in different areas than others, but we all have 24 hours a day. We all have 7 days a week. We all have 365. So this is something that we all do have in common and equal. And if we don't value our time, and I'll give you an example. The same person has cut my hair for 9 years now. Most expensive place I can go in town to get my hair cut, I go. I'm going to tell you why. Because it's across the street, and I've never had to wait. If I've got a 10:45 appointment, I walk in the door at 10:45. I don't sit in the waiting area and listen to people talk. I go straight to the girl's chair. She cuts my hair. 15 minutes later, she's washing it, drying it. I'm out of there. To me, that's worth paying twice as much as I would to drive across town, because my time is that valuable. And just like you said, only do what you can do. Nobody's going to cut your daddy's grass as good as he cuts it. But this is something I'm going to say, and a lot of people's going to disagree with me, but sometimes good enough is good enough. Yeah. And we don't got to have the best of everything. We don't have to be the best. Very rarely is the best at something the most successful at something. You know, the person who can build, I play guitar, and I don't play near as much as I used to. The people who build the best guitars in the world are not the most successful, are not with the biggest company. And they have the best product, and it may be the most expensive product, but they've never learned to scale that product, to monetize what they can do. And so that doesn't always mean it's the most successful. Do you want to be the best at something, or do you want to be the most successful? And I know that's a little controversial, but that's just how I believe, and that's how I see it. Sometimes good enough is good enough. And I'll say this, because, you made that statement, and I 100% totally agree with you. I haven't done my own yard in years, but we both used to. Yeah. We both used to. We've all done it till we didn't have to do it. And not necessarily not have to do it, but when our time became to the point to where, and this was me, I quit cutting my grass because it was taking me away from my family. Because I wasn't cutting my grass during work week. I was cutting my grass on Saturday. I was cutting my grass on Sunday. It was taken away from the babies that had just been born in my house. And it was at that point I realized I'm not going to be able to do everything, but there's certain things I can do. I can hire somebody. I can't hire somebody to raise my kids, but I can hire somebody to cut my grass. And that's at the point where I started doing. It's a lot of things I hadn't washed my car in years. I mean, I get out and spray it off sometimes if a bird does something on it or different things like that. Now I would do that, but I haven't done it in years because I'm not going to take 2 hours. Because first off, it's going to take me 2 hours to do it, whereas somebody else can come and do it in 15, 20 minutes. I'm not going to take that time away from my family. I'm sure not going to take it away from production and work. It's not beneficial. It doesn't make sense for me. Now, I'll say this on the other end of the coin. Some people are dumb if they're paying to get this stuff done because they ain't got the money. They ain't there yet. Right. We've said it a lot of times. If you ain't there yet, you ain't there yet. And so there's certain points in life, in business, where you're going to have to do everything. You got nobody to delegate it to because it's only you. And your money is so scarce and it's so valuable, and every penny that comes in has to go back out in seed. You're going to have to do it every time. I read that same book I read. I might read it again. I've done reference it twice. Probably hadn't read it in 10 years. Next Generation Leader. Mm-hmm. The author of that book said that he created a church with 2 staff members, himself and one other person. He wrote down 50 positions in that church or in that ministry organization that needed to be fulfilled in the future. Not immediately, necessarily, because it was a brand new work. But he said he took those 50 different positions, and on 25 of those positions, he wrote his name. And on the other 25, he wrote his associates or his assistant's name. And he said, now our job is to replace ourselves in every one of these positions, except for the positions that only we can do. And that was for each of them communication. And that's what life's about. Get to the point where, okay, I can't do that no more, but I've got somebody who can. They might not can do it quite as good as me, but eventually, if you'll turn them loose and let them go, eventually they'll do it better than you. And not only will they do that better than you, but by concentrating on what only you can do, you'll be able to do that better than you've ever done.
Yeah. So, I mean, and a lot of times going back to what you're saying, I mean, that's just, people also you got to be intuitive enough to understand what season you're in, okay? I have to do my own yards now, okay? But I'm working in such a manner that there'll come a day that I won't have to do them. But the main thing is not getting bound and stuck in a poverty mindset. Most people do their own stuff, do their own work, focus on themselves, and if it's going to get done right, you got to do it yourself. Well, you're never going to build anything of any substance. You're never going to reproduce yourself. Leaders don't create followers; they create more leaders. And so, in your example there, when you say, "Okay, here's the 25 positions. Here's 25 positions. We're to replace ourselves and all these," what you're doing is you're going in and you're creating people that can lead in those areas and can distribute those tasks. And understanding that if you want to have pace in life, since we're talking about pace, the things that you're doing and being intuitive enough to understand the season. Okay, there was a season I cut my own grass. I'm not in that season anymore. I'm making enough money. I got enough going on. I'm doing enough that I understand I can maximize and do even more of what brings increase and happiness and wealth and all these things and success to my life if I'll begin to slowly drop off these other things as the time's right and not holding on to a poverty. A poverty mentality is another thing that'll kill your pace because it says, okay, I need to save every penny I can here and there. When again, as you're intuitive enough to begin to drop those things off, then what that does is, sure, you're paying the $30 or whatever it is to have this service done, but I'm able now to take the time that I was doing to save $30, and now it's making me $300. And so then I've got a net deal of I'm $270, wealthier than I was before. And that begins to build on each other and begins to compound. And so, I mean, leadership's got a lot to do with that, but it's an issue of, again, knowing your timing, knowing your season, and basically just begin to move forward. Because, I mean, another thing too, an unpredictable leader will build tentative followers. And so one of the great things with pace is when you have pace and you're going after it each and every day, that pace, people are watching you. They're seeing you. They see the pace. They see the consistency. I've always said if you want to be taken serious in life, you got to be consistent. And consistency is important. You won't have any pace without consistency. So whatever you're doing, you do it well, you go after it, you make it a priority.